Got lots of texts and calls that we're going to get to and important questions to answer. But we've also heard about the strong use of social media in this election, with major parties investing a lot of time and effort in their online presence. Did it work? Both the Tories and Labour had a strong social media presence. Did they do it right? And what impact could it have had? Well, Mal Fletcher is a social futurist. That's a cracking good title, that. And the head of 2020 Plus. Good morning, Mal.
Good morning, Anna.
Now, we realise there are no figures for exactly what impact social media has had on this election yet. I'm sure that will come out in the coming days. But how important do you think it has been?
Well, very important. I think it's actually surprising to me, and probably to you, to be talking about this as a new phenomenon in British politics when you remember that Barack Obama used it to such devastating effect as far back as 2008. But it seems up until now, most British politicians have seen social media as sort of an adjunct to old school news sources like newspapers and TV. I think that's changing with this election. I think that Corbyn's team were better able to facilitate social media messaging to young people. Social media is all about viral thinking. It produces the impression that organisations are open to outside ideas and they're running as flat structures. And once that sort of idea is embedded in the minds of a voter, especially young voters, the sense of ownership produces this almost evangelical fervour. And let's face it, no message spreads faster than a message that's got personal conviction attached.
In a sense that they got it made, though, Labour, because, you know, generally, if we're looking at the figures, younger people are more likely to vote in that way and also more likely to be on social media, whereas, you know, older voters are not as likely to be on social media.
Yeah, it's possibly true, but I don't think there's anything inherent in either of the messages that is necessarily more attractive to one demographic than another. Although younger people do tend to vote less with the status quo, so you might argue that Theresa May was up against it in that regard. It is also true, though, that there are aspects of what could be seen as a positive side of a Conservative message that could have been presented better. And I think, look, it's not just the technology. It is, as you say, the generations behind the technology. And for millennials, this is a tipping point, this election, because after Brexit, many of them, especially in urban centres like London, felt disenfranchised. They felt that selfish older people were making choices for them. But at the same time, there were politically engaged millennials who said, hang on a minute, my peers are actually not voting in these elections. So I'm committing myself to getting my peers more involved through social media. And we saw the fruit of that yesterday.
Mal, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for coming on the programme today. Mal Fletcher, a social futurist and the head of 2020 Plus.